Hi, and welcome to the Paldea region. First and foremost, the name Paldea region. I don't know if you're a Spanish speaker or not, but for those of you at home that don't know, I'm Puerto Rican, so I speak Spanish. Aldea is essentially village, and like Paldea, it's like for me, it sounds like Pangea or like like the random like we're gonna do like a Jurassic Park type of thing. We're gonna name it after a Jurassic period, all that stuff. It kind of harbors to that, but I know what they did. It's like Aldea and the P for Pokemon, like Paldea. It it sounds good. However, it brings out a lot of imagery when I say the name, especially Palkia. I don't know if it happens to you.
Um, like enunciating on the P or just in general?
Just saying the name, like Paldea. It sounds like Palkia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I call it the Paldea region.
Yeah, the Paldea region. You use that accent, and so we have the Paldea region. We have, oh, by the way, the school set got even more in depth to it. Then we ended up getting even more characters added into the game. Essentially, the bigger confirmation here. I'm not diving into like the other Pokemon that got introduced and all that stuff because essentially what it harbors and boils down to is we're gonna get three main stories. We already have one, which is the gym challenge one, but essentially we have one that has to do with flags. As of the time of this recording, it's August 21st. We still do not know what the flags will equal to. Like we just know that we have flags, and then we have one that, according to the Pokemon trailers and according to the video itself, is essentially just we're going to explore the region and like search for ingredients.
The
What do you think is going to happen? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, considering that we have three main storylines.
so from my understanding of having the three storylines, the flags were supposed to represent like the evil team because and then that's where everything would go down because every
Mm,
city it wouldn't be necessarily like, oh yeah, you're the traditional style of okay, we have 8 gym leaders because they said, oh, you can go around and beat the gym leaders however you want. It's just depending upon what level your Pokemon is. That's how hard it's gonna be. So essentially, we're getting the anime treatment now when it comes to the gym story. So now we really got to focus on okay, who the evil team is, and then the school setting, which is traveling the region. But honestly, I think them saying that it was just three separate stories is just trying to separate the game experience all out so that way we have they're trying to floodgate it from what we're used to because it really does sound like a traditional main series Pokemon game where we get the gym leaders, the evil team, and the legendary story. Because the third one, in regards to the treasure hunt, is essentially
mm-hmm,
okay. Once you get all the pieces, then you run into the legendary. But if you do all three at the same time, which it sounds like the game is going to let you do all three at the same time instead of one by
mm,
one, then you
mm-hmm.
just played a regular Pokemon game as the previous generations. It's just okay, cool. We didn't let you eat it all up at once because we're still working on DLC.
Mm.
That's my
It's
standpoint
kind
on
of
it.
like, yeah, and that's a very, very, very valid point. I have to bring it up to the table. Thank you so much for the input. If so, you can choose to do all three stories at the same time. Essentially, this is something that we have to basically bring input to because it's going to happen. Like this is not an option of either if it's not or if it will. It's going to happen where we're going to be like, oh, I finished all three storylines at the same time because I didn't pace myself. You know what I mean? It's like you don't get to finish one storyline and then jump into the other one from zero. Like essentially what you're gonna do, or at least what we think was gonna happen. Because remember, at the time of this recording, the game is not out. We still don't know how it's gonna work out. So we are going to by hypothesis here. So it's either going to be like, oh, by the way, here you go. You get to go off into the main story and get to have fun. You choose your three things, you take them at the same time, and then you go step by step. Like, let's say I finish one gym, and then I go do this other thing with the flags, and then I go do this other thing with like the treasure hunt, and I keep up with them at the same time and at the same pacing. Essentially, what's going to happen is we're going to finish the game, and then we're just going to be stuck there, like, and now what? You know what I mean? And
Ex-
that's something like that's really hard to think about in that mindset because like now what? I hate that concept. Like the whole like yo, now what? Oh,
for seasoned trainers like us, this is the number one thing that hits us. Like it's the now what, and then yeah, we appreciated the games and we still appreciate it, but then now we gotta wait like 5 years before we even touch the game again if we're not in the competitive scene
mm-hmm,
because it's not filling. Now with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming out, they already stated their intentions of making this like a MMO RPG, a mix between the two, which is great because if that's the case,
mm-hmm,
we're relying on not just what we have as far as the actual game content, but now let's say our friend groups, like how we normally do, we pick out the typing
mm-hmm,
for the starters.
mm-hmm,
Now it's
mm-hmm.
okay, essentially, you can't progress without me. Because if you progress without me, now you messing up our friendship type deal, which is not a
Basically,
guarantee, but you know, peer pressure is a real thing. We know what's gonna
mm-hmm.
happen.
Yep, yep, yep. So essentially, is we have that. I'm not gonna try to dive too much into it because otherwise it's gonna get heated here. But at the same time, it's like okay, so we do the story, we do the progression, we finish the story, and then the now what? That's gonna hurt us in the end. But essentially, we have hope still, because again, the games are not out, and the map Paldea looks thick. You know what I mean? Paldea looks thick. Paldea looks big. Paldea looks like we have a lot to explore.
It looks like an actual
And
region versus what we've been getting.
exactly,
Now,
exactly, it looks like
no
an actual
disrespect,
region. Mm-hmm.
but
No disrespect
Galore
to none other regions.
Galore was just basic. It looked big,
Galar.
but I mean, yeah, the Gala region, it looked big, but it wasn't. It really wasn't. Even
That's
once you added
it
the
was
DLC, it wasn't.
yeah, it was very much smoke and mirrors. And that is something that thank you so much for bringing up into the table. Because like, listen, this is the only this is the only instance that we're going to like divert from the main topic at hand. It's we're going to talk about the regions for a little bit. Uh, Galar and the issue with Galar was that Galar essentially, without diving too much into it, because I've already talked about it at length in my own podcast, Galar felt rushed. No matter what happened, Galar felt rushed. And it was so hard for me to center myself in Galar. Because essentially what you have your monorails, like go do this, very linear concept. And then you had your open space area, which was the wild area, which was the thing that the Galar region was going to be known for. It's like, oh my god, this is the wild area, and this is da. And essentially, when we saw the wild area, it's like, oh, it's just a lot of smaller ecosystems all plopped on top of one another and then expected to do bigger things. You know what I mean? It's like at the end of the day, you have your little ghost area, you have your little grass area, you have your little meadow with a lot of other you have your water zones, you have your steel areas, you have your under the bridge area with like a little bit of grass, a little bit of water, and other stuff. And then at the far end, once you're reaching the other end of the Galar region with the bigger and other ends of the gym leaders and all that other stuff, you essentially have like this is your little lake, this is your little desert, this is your little like prairie. I ended up not liking the Galar Wild area. And then with Paldea, what we're going to see, hopefully so, is already in the map, you can see the ecosystems. And if you look at it deeply, most of the things that are going to happen within the maps is going to be like, oh, by the way, this is big ecosystem and we're expecting it to be big. So what they did was, this is something that's going to happen a lot. And this is something that I did say that was going to happen all the time. Galar was an experiment to see if the Switch could handle a Pokemon game. Then came Legends of Arceus, and first and foremost, before Legends of Arceus first came Pokemon Go, Pokemon Let's Go, and essentially was like, okay, can we do the overworld on the Pokemon things all over the place with like a world beloved game, which is the red and white, the red and blue, sorry, the red and blue series, and then oh right, we're gonna make it like Pokemon Yellow. You know what I mean? It happened. We did the thing. We did the new capture mechanic. Okay, great. We're updating the models. We're updating the mechanics. Because if you pay attention, in Pokemon Let's Go, they did an upgrade on the mechanics and on the models of the Pokemon. Perfect. Great. Then we had Legends of Arceus, which essentially introduced the concept of depth and verticality within the game. Love that concept.
Oh yeah.
Love that concept. Love the fact that Sinnoh feels huge. However, what they're doing is they're making it by sections. They're making it by sandbox areas just to experiment how much we can get away within one area versus the next. Not a bad concept. I will not, Josh, I will not take a shot at Legends of Arceus. Legends of Arceus really was that girl. You know what I mean? Like, Legends of Arceus map, she ate, she served, she gave us everything that we needed and more. However, on the Paldea region, what we're going to be seeing is a lot of ecosystem and hopefully like depth to the game. Like we're seeing verticality, we're seeing like all this freedom of movement. The only thing is, we're not going to have the capture mechanic from Legends of Arceus, which is okay. Let Legends of Arceus have its own little gimmick. Because since this is a brand new game, I'm expecting that either if we move, this is just me going like if we move into like perhaps Paldea number 2, like Scarlet and Violet 2, or like the possible third instance of the game, even though they have basically confirmed with Galar that they're not gonna do that anymore. We might see the return of the Legends of Arceus mechanic, where we have like the capture mechanic, which I like a lot. However, I'm already looking forward for the Paldea because Paldea will feel big with a capital big, and I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because literally here you can look at the region, you can tell by the map it has big potential as any other one, but because again, you can't have an MMO and then not have a big game. Because if I'm stuck going to the same places over and over again, it better be, oh yeah, I'm stuck in like turn back cave, but it's not turn back cave type vibes. I'm still stuck here because it's just that big of a section.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need to take more than 2 to 3 days to beat the damn game. Because if I'm beating the game, and I said this on my Twitter, I was like, stop giving these new kids championships, because that's what we're doing. I literally have to tell my brother, I'm like, no, you're just too soft. The only reason why he got through Pokemon Platinum, because I made him sit there and play the game by himself. He only got through there
Mm-hmm.
because he made sure that his starter Pokemon, Infernape, was level
Mm-hmm.
76. The rest of his team,
Mm-hmm.
he used it like body bags. I was like, so you understand the struggle. You just chose to take the easy way out by leveling up one
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon, because the newer games, they automatically have the EXP share and everything. You're not really having to sit there and focus on one Pokemon except for pick the right moves for this battle.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, no, you gotta sit up there, switch out your Pokemon. Yeah, your starter is supposed to be the ace of your team, unless you said, no, my starter's not the ace of my team. Whoever the ace is needs to be on ace status. But everybody else should be
Mm-hmm.
able to go toe to toe with your ace, because what if that ace go down? Then you gotta go and rely on 5 other Pokemon, and you mean to tell me they're all level 5? Oh hell no! Cause soon as they take away that EXP share function, then what? The kids,
Mm-hmm.
the junior league, like how you were telling me and what I was seeing in the Twitter feed, I'm proud of them because again, they understand what it means to battle. It's not some, oh, I'm just throwing it out there just to throw it out there, let's be on some anime vibes. No, because the original games, even if we're not talking about red and blue, gold and silver, no. Let's talk about ruby, sapphire, emerald, diamond and pearl, the originals, platinum, black and white 2, and Carlos all together, X and Y. Literally, the gym leaders made sure that you knew why they were called a gym leader. Whitney with her milk
Mm-hmm.
tank. Then you had what's his name? You had Juan with Milotic, which was essentially
Juan and Wallace with
yes,
Milotic.
yes, both of them with Milotic, both of
Actually,
them.
Juan had a Kingdra. That's even bringing it hard.
But he did the same thing that Claire did, essentially, along with Dragonite.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Mm-hmm.
these gym leaders made sure that you understood, okay, yeah, you're not gonna get my badge just because, oh, we're supposed to test you to see if you're worthy to go to the league. Because soon as you go to the league, it's a whole level, it's a 20 level difference from the 8th gym leader. And if you struggled all the way through the first 8 gyms, once you hit the league, oh snap, I'm still under leveled. Okay, I'm gonna actually have to think of a strategy. Pray to God that these numbers kick into play, because we're not even really focused on RNG anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.